cot is not designed for sleeping. This is the first thing he understands. The cot in the break room on the third floor of Plant 6 is not a bed. It is a vinyl-covered frame with a foam pad that is approximately 1 inch thick and that has been compressed by the weight of hundreds of bodies over the years to approximately ½ an inch, which is the distance between lying on foam and lying on plywood. The cot exists not because the company provides rest accommodations for its workers, but because someone, a worker years ago whose name nobody remembers, brought it in from home and left it in the corner of the break room for the overnight shift, and the cot stayed the way things stay in factories, not because they belong, but because nobody has removed them. His name is Griffin Lockwood. He is 54 years old. He is the CEO of Triton Manufacturing, a precision parts manufacturer headquartered in a corporate campus in Shaker Heights, Ohio, that operates 7 plants across 3 states, employs 3,100 people, and generates $670 million in annual revenue. The company makes components, bearings, housings, valve bodies, the unglamorous metal parts that go inside machines that go inside other machines that eventually produce the things that consumers see. Triton's products are invisible. The people who make them are invisible too. Griffin's father, Emmett, worked in a stamping plant in Youngstown for 28 years. Not a Triton plant, a now shuttered facility that made door hinges for the automotive industry, the kind of plant that employed 1,000 people in 1979 and 200 people in 2001 and 0 people in 2004 when the operation moved to Juarez. Emmett ran a press, a 200-ton hydraulic stamping press that dropped a steel die onto sheet metal with the force and rhythm of a mechanical heartbeat. He ran it for 28 years. He came home every night with metal shavings in his hair and oil on his forearms and the particular deafness in his left ear that was the tax the press extracted for 28 years of proximity. He never complained about the deafness. He complained about the cold. The plant was cold, Emmett used to say. Not philosophically cold, physically cold. The heating system in the stamping plant was designed in 1964 and never upgraded, and it heated the administrative offices on the second floor and the front entrance where the customers came in and the conference room where the buyers sat. It did not heat the production floor. The production floor was 42,000 square feet of concrete and steel, and the ambient temperature in January was 41 degrees, which is 9 degrees above the temperature at which water freezes and approximately 40 degrees below the temperature at which a human body works comfortably for 12 hours. The workers wore layers. They wore thermals and flannels and hoodies, and the company issued work jackets that were provided once on the first day of employment in one size, large, regardless of the worker's actual size. Emmett's jacket was large. Emmett was not large. He was 5'7", 155 pounds, and the jacket hung on him like a tarp on a tent pole. He wore it every shift for 28 years. When the plant closed, he brought the jacket home. It hung in the closet until he died at 71. Lung complications, the particular variety of lung disease that develops after 3 decades of breathing metal dust, in a plant that provided 1 dust mask per shift and that sometimes ran out of masks, and that told the workers on the days the masks ran out to breathe through your shirt. Griffin was 26 when Emmett died. He was working as a machinist's apprentice at a job shop in Cleveland, a small operation that made custom parts for aerospace companies, the kind of shop where the owner worked the floor and the floor was heated, and the masks were good because the owner understood that the difference between a cheap mask and a good mask is not a cost difference, but a moral one. In those conditions, you have no business in those conditions. You have no business putting anyone else's kid on it either. Griffin cleaned out Emmett's locker at the Youngstown plant the week after the funeral. The locker contained the jacket, a thermos, a pair of safety glasses with a cracked lens, and a photograph of Griffin at age 8, taped to the inside of the locker door, wearing a hard hat that came down over his eyes while standing on the factory floor during a take-your-kid-to-work day. The photograph had been there for 20 years. The adhesive had fused with the metal. Griffin couldn't remove it without tearing the photo, so he took the whole locker door. It's in his office in Shaker Heights, leaning against the wall behind his desk, the photograph of an 8-year-old boy in an oversized hard hat standing on a floor that was 41 degrees and that his father worked on for 28 years and that killed him at 71. Griffin built Triton to be different. That was the founding conviction. Different from the Youngstown plant, different from the cold floor and the single jacket and the one mask per shift policy that treated the lungs of its workers as a renewable resource. He started the company at 30 in a rented bay in an industrial park in Elyria, with 2 CNC machines and a contract to make valve bodies for a pump manufacturer in Akron. He ran the machines himself the first year. He swept the floor. He loaded the trucks. He wore the safety glasses and the hearing protection and the dust mask. A good mask, the kind with replaceable filters, the kind that cost $4 apiece instead of 40 cents, because he understood that the difference between a 40-cent mask and a $4 mask is not $3.60. It is the difference between breathing at 71 and not breathing at 71. The company grew. 7 plants, 3,100 employees, a corporate campus with landscaping and a cafeteria and a wellness center that has a gym and a nutritionist and a meditation room that was added in 2022 because the HR director read an article about mindfulness in manufacturing. And Griffin approved it, because Griffin approves most things that the corporate office proposes, because the corporate office proposes things that sound reasonable in conference rooms. The employee satisfaction survey arrived 8 weeks ago. Production floor satisfaction, 26%. Office satisfaction, 71%. The gap, 45 points between the people who make the product and the people who manage the product, is the width of the disconnect that Griffin is about to walk into. Turnover on the production floor, 39%. Turnover in the office, 8%. The factory and the office are the same company on the letterhead. They are different companies in every way that matters. Go to the floor, his VP of operations said, a woman named Dina Cherney, who had spent 18 years in manufacturing operations and who understood that the distance between the corner office and the production floor is not measured in floors or hallways but in decibels and degrees. The noise and the temperature that the office never experiences because the office is climate-controlled and soundproofed and designed for the comfort of the people who design things, not the people who make them. Not Plant 1, Dina said. Not the showcase plant. Plant 6, Elyria, the overnight shift. That's where the company is real. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from today, because this story is about a CEO who built a factory empire on the memory of his father's cold jacket and then worked the overnight shift to discover that his own workers are wearing theirs. Monday, 10 p.m. Griffin walks through the employee entrance of Plant 6, the Elyria facility, the original location, the rented bay that is now a 90,000 square foot production floor with 42 CNC machines, 6 stamping presses, a grinding department, a quality lab, and a shipping dock. The building has been expanded 3 times since Griffin started it. Each expansion added square footage. None of the expansions upgraded the heating system. His badge says, Grant Lowell, CNC operator, 3rd shift. He's wearing steel-toed boots, safety glasses pushed up on his forehead, and the company-issued work jacket, navy blue, Triton logo on the chest, provided on the first day of employment, 1 per worker, size large. The jacket is large. Griffin is large, 6'1", 210, so the jacket fits him. It will not fit everyone he works with tonight. Some of them will be swimming in it. Some of them won't be wearing it at all, because the jacket is the only outerwear the company provides, and if the jacket doesn't fit, the worker wears their own coat purchased with their own money in a factory that generates $670 million in annual revenue, and that cannot, apparently, provide jackets in more than one size. The overnight shift, 3rd shift, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., is the shift that the company needs and the company ignores. The machines run 24 hours. The orders require 24 hours. The customers expect 24 hours. But the support systems, maintenance, supervision, HR, medical, operate primarily on 1st shift, which means 3rd shift runs with a skeleton crew of support. 1 supervisor for 42 operators, 1 maintenance technician for 42 machines, and 0 HR presence, 0 medical presence, 0 management presence. 3rd shift is the shift that runs itself, staffed by people who work in the dark and go home at dawn and who are, in the organizational consciousness of the company, the least visible and the most essential. The floor is cold, not 41 degrees. The heating system at Plant 6 is newer than the one at Emmett's plant, installed in 2011, and it maintains the production floor at approximately 54 degrees in January. 54 degrees. The OSHA recommendation for industrial workplaces is 68 degrees. 54 is 14 degrees below the recommendation and 13 degrees above the temperature at which Emmett worked for 28 years. And Griffin notes this with the particular discomfort of a man who built a company to be different and who is discovering that different is a matter of degree, literally 14 degrees, and that 14 degrees of difference is not enough when you're standing on a concrete floor at midnight in a navy jacket that doesn't fit half the people wearing it. If this story has touched your heart, take a moment to share it and subscribe to Untold Hearts, because sometimes the man who built the factory to be different discovers that different isn't enough. The shift starts. Griffin is assigned to a CNC lathe, Machine 17, a Mazak Quick Turn 250, a machine that takes a raw metal billet and turns it into a precision bearing housing with tolerances measured in thousandths of an inch. The machine does the cutting. The operator does everything else: loading the raw stock, setting the tool offsets, running the program, measuring the first piece, adjusting, running the batch, unloading, inspecting, packaging, logging. The cycle time per part is 4 minutes and 12 seconds. The target is 114 parts per shift. The math is relentless. 4 minutes and 12 seconds, 114 times for 8 hours, with no variance, no delay, no mechanical issue, no bathroom break that lasts longer than the time it takes the machine to complete a cycle, which is 4 minutes and 12 seconds, which is the length of a bathroom break in a factory that doesn't officially time bathroom breaks, but that tracks parts per shift and that notices when the count drops below 114. The operator who trained him, a man named Webb Cosgrove, 58, who has been running CNC machines for 31 years and who has the hands of a machinist, thick, scarred, with the permanent darkening under the nails that metal dust produces and that no amount of soap removes, shows him the routine. Load, set, run, measure, adjust, repeat. That's the job. That's been the job for 31 years. The machine changes, the software changes, the tolerances get tighter, but the job is the same. You stand here, you feed the machine, and the machine makes parts, and the parts make money, and the money goes somewhere that isn't here. Webb Cosgrove has been on the floor since before Griffin started the company. He was one of the first 10 hires, employee number 7, hired from a shop in Lorraine that was closing, brought on at $11 an hour in 1994, when $11 an hour was a living wage, and the factory floor was the middle class, and the middle class was the promise that America made to men who could operate machines. 31 years later, Webb makes $22 an hour. The wage has doubled. The cost of living has tripled. The math is the same math that every factory worker in America can do without a calculator. The paycheck goes up by addition, and the bills go up by multiplication, and the gap between the two is filled by overtime and side jobs, and the particular financial creativity of people who make things for a living and who understand that making things is not the same as making money. Webb has a pension. He's one of the last. The pension plan was closed to new employees in 2008, replaced by a 401k match that the company contributes to at 3%, which is 3% of $22 an hour, which is 66 cents an hour, which is the company's investment in the retirement of a man who has been feeding machines for 31 years, and whose hands have the permanent darkening that metal dust produces, and whose hearing has the permanent diminishment that machine noise produces, and whose back has the permanent compression that concrete floors produce. "What do you mean?" Griffin asks. "Look around. What do you see?" Griffin looks. He sees a production floor that is clean but aging, concrete that has been patched in 12 places, fluorescent lighting that buzzes at a frequency that is not quite audible and not quite inaudible, the particular hum of old ballasts that maintenance has been asked to replace and that maintenance has not replaced because the ballasts still work and still works is the maintenance standard for the production floor, a different standard than functions optimally, which is the maintenance standard for the corporate campus. He sees machines that are running, operators at stations, the choreography of third shift in motion. He sees 3 operators wearing the company jacket, 7 operators wearing their own coats, personal jackets, hoodies, flannels, the private outerwear of people who work in a 54-degree building and who have solved the temperature problem themselves because the building hasn't solved it for them. The money goes to Shaker Heights, Webb says. To the corporate campus, the wellness center, the meditation room. You know about the meditation room? I've heard of it. They put in a meditation room last year for the office people. Bamboo floors, sound machine, little fountain. Probably cost 50 grand. You know what third shift asked for last year? Space heaters. Portable space heaters for the workstations. We asked for heaters that cost $40 a piece. $40. The request was denied because the safety team said portable heaters are a fire risk on the production floor. Which is true, they are a fire risk. So we asked for the building heat to be raised. The request was forwarded to facilities. Facilities said the heating upgrade would cost $180,000. $180,000. The meditation room cost $50. The heaters cost $40 apiece. The heating upgrade costs $180, and we're still at 54 degrees because nobody at corporate is cold. Is anyone at corporate ever here? Griffin asks. On third shift? The plant manager comes through once a month, first shift. He walks the floor at 9 a.m. when the heat's been running for hours and the sun is coming through the skylights and the building is at its warmest. He sees 60 degrees and thinks the floor is fine. He doesn't come at midnight. He doesn't come at 4 a.m. when the dock doors have been opening and closing all night and the corner by Bay 3 is 49 degrees and the operators are working in personal coats because the company jacket is a fire hazard if it doesn't fit and a hypothermia risk if it doesn't insulate, and it does neither. Webb loads another billet into machine 12. The rhythm of the load, hands, stock, chuck, close, start, is the rhythm of 31 years. And the rhythm tells a story that words don't. This man has been doing this motion since before the internet, since before cell phones, since before the wellness center and the meditation room and the bamboo floors. He was here when the building had 2 CNC machines. He is here now with 42. The machines multiplied. The attention to the people running them divided. The first year, Webb says, Griffin, the CEO, worked this floor, right here. Machine 3, over there. He loaded his own stock, he swept his own chips, he ate his lunch at the machine because there was no break room. Just a bay with 2 machines and a man who did everything. That was 24 years ago. Now there's a corporate campus and a wellness center and a meditation room and $670 million in revenue, and the man who started in this bay hasn't been on this floor in, I don't know, years. A lot of years. Griffin doesn't say anything. He runs the cycle. 4 minutes and 12 seconds. The machine doesn't know that the man feeding it is the man who bought it. If you're enjoying this story, hit that like button right now. It takes 1 second, costs nothing, and tells us to keep making stories like this one. Back to the story. 2 a.m. break time. The break room on the 3rd floor of Plant 6 is a room that was not designed to be a break room. It was designed to be a storage closet. The proportions are wrong, the ceiling is low, the ventilation is a single duct that pushes air from the production floor into the room, which means the break room smells like the production floor, coolant, metal, the industrial sweetness of machining oil that coats everything on the floor and that workers carry into the break room on their clothes and hands and in their lungs. The room has 2 vending machines, one for snacks, one for drinks, both functioning. A microwave, functioning but filthy. The interior coated with the archaeological layers of 1,000 reheated meals. A sink, functioning, cold water only. A table with 6 chairs for a shift of 42 people. A bulletin board with a safety poster, a schedule, and a handwritten note that says, "Please clean up after yourself that has been there so long the paper has yellowed." And the cot, in the corner. The vinyl-covered frame with the 1/2-inch foam pad. Griffin sits at the table. His back is aching. The ache of 8 hours of standing on concrete, loading and unloading a CNC lathe, bending and lifting and twisting in the repetitive motions that the ergonomics team has designed protocols to minimize, and that the protocols have not minimized because the protocols were designed for first shift when the ergonomics team is present and third shift when the ergonomics team is home. The break is 15 minutes. 15 minutes to eat, sit, rest, use the bathroom, check a phone, decompress from 4 hours of machine noise, and prepare for 4 more hours of machine noise. The break is not long enough to eat a full meal. It is not long enough to rest. It is a pause, a comma in a sentence that runs from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. without a period. The break room fills, not all at once. The operators stagger their breaks because the machines can't all stop simultaneously without losing the production schedule. So they come in 2s and 3s, eat fast, check phones, and go back. The room accommodates 6 seated and maybe 3 standing, and the rest wait in the hallway or eat at their machines, leaning against the CNC consoles with a sandwich in one hand and a micrometer in the other. The meal and the work occupying the same space because the break room doesn't have enough space for either. Griffin notices what they eat. He notices because the eating is compressed. 15 minutes, no stove, 1 filthy microwave, a vending machine. And compressed eating reveals the economics of the eater. Webb eats leftover stew from a thermos, homemade, brought from home, the food of a man with a wife who cooks in a kitchen to cook in. A younger operator, mid-20s, badge says Cody, eats a protein bar and a bag of trail mix, the food of a single person who doesn't cook and who has calibrated his caloric intake to the vending machine's offerings. Another operator eats nothing. She sits, closes her eyes for 11 of the 15 minutes, and goes back to the floor. She is not sleeping. She is resting in the way that third-shift workers rest, with closed eyes and an internal clock that counts the minutes, and that will open the eyes at 14 minutes and put the body back on the concrete at 15. A woman walks in. Her badge says Yolanda Pike, grinding third shift. She is 43 years old, compact, with her hair tied under a bandana and safety glasses pushed up on her forehead, and the particular gait of a person who has been standing on concrete for 6 hours and whose knees have started the negotiation between function and pain that all factory workers' knees eventually conduct. She is not wearing the company jacket. She is wearing a coat, a puffy winter coat, dark green, visibly worn at the elbows and zipper, the kind of coat that costs $40 at Walmart and that lasts 2 winters before the insulation compresses and the warmth diminishes and the coat becomes a shell that looks like protection, but isn't. She sits at the table across from Griffin. She opens a lunchbox, a soft cooler with a broken zipper that she holds closed with a binder clip. Inside, a sandwich on white bread, a bag of chips, an apple. The meal of a person who packs for function, not pleasure. "You the new guy on 17?" she says. "Yeah, Grant." "Yolanda, I'm on the Blanchard, surface grinding." She takes a bite of the sandwich. "How's your first night?" "Cold." "It's always cold. January's the worst. The floor drops to 50 in the corners by the dock. The dock doors don't seal. The gaskets are shot, been shot for 2 years. Every time a truck backs in, the temperature drops 5 degrees for 20 minutes. I wear thermals under my uniform, 2 pairs of socks, gloves with the fingers cut out so I can feel the parts." She holds up her hands. The gloves are there, gray knit, the fingertips cut away with scissors, the exposed fingers red and dry and cracked at the knuckles. "The company gives us 1 jacket. 1. I'm a small. The jacket is a large. It hangs to my knees. I can't run the Blanchard in a jacket that hangs to my knees. It's a catch hazard. The sleeves could get pulled into the wheel. So I wear my own coat and I pay for my own coat, and the company jacket hangs in my locker, and the company checks a box that says outerwear provided, and everyone's happy except the person who's cold." Griffin looks at the coat, the dark green puffy coat with the worn elbows and the broken zipper. He thinks about Emmett's jacket, the large, the tarp on the tent pole, the 28 years. He thinks about the founding conviction. Different. He built Triton to be different. The jackets are the same. 1 size, 1 jacket, the same box checked on the same form. "What would you change?" he asks. "How much time do you have?" 8 more minutes of break." "Not enough, but here's the short version. The heat. The jackets. Give us jackets that fit, not 1 size fits nobody. The break room. This isn't a break room. This is a closet with a microwave. The lighting. Half the ballasts on the floor are buzzing, been buzzing for months, gives everyone headaches. The dock gaskets. The ergonomic mats. First shift has anti-fatigue mats at every station. Third shift has bare concrete because the mats wear out and they replace first shift's mats and give us the old ones, and the old ones are flat. And flat rubber on concrete is the same as concrete. Oh, and the bathroom. She pauses. There are 2 bathrooms for 42 people. 2. 1 men's, 1 women's. The women's has 1 stall for the 12 women on third shift. You know what that means? It means you wait. And while you wait, your parts per shift count drops. And when your count drops, your supervisor asks why. And you say, I was waiting for the bathroom. And the supervisor says, manage your time better. And you manage your time better by not drinking water. And not drinking water on a floor that's 54 degrees where you're running a grinding machine for 8 hours it's not safe. It's not healthy. But it's managed. If Untold Hearts has become part of your week, consider joining the channel membership. A few dollars a month keeps these stories coming. Links are in the description. Now, back to the story. 4:30 a.m. The shift is winding toward dawn. Griffin has been on his feet for 6.5 hours. His hands are sore from loading billets. His ears are ringing. The tinnitus that factory workers develop. The ghost frequency of machines that runs in the silence between shifts. His back has progressed from aching to locking. The specific stiffness that comes from repetitive motion in a cold environment. The body's protest against the combination of exertion and temperature that no ergonomic protocol addresses because the protocol assumes 68 degrees and the floor provides 54. The floor has changed in the last 2 hours. The energy has shifted. At 10 p.m., the shift starts with the caffeinated alertness of people who have slept during the day and are ready for the night. By midnight, the alertness has settled into rhythm. By 2 a.m., the rhythm has become autopilot. By 4 a.m., the autopilot has become endurance, the pure, undecorated will to stay upright and functional and safe around machines that spin and cut and grind, and that do not care whether the operator is awake or asleep or somewhere in between. The machines run at the same speed at 4:30 a.m. as they run at 10 p.m. The operator does not. This is the danger of third shift, the fatigue. The fatigue that turns a 4-minute and 12-second cycle into a 4-minute and 12-second window of vulnerability, a window in which a tired hand loads a billet a 1/4 inch off center and the tool catches and the machine jerks and the part is scrap and the operator's hand is a 1/2 second from the chuck. The incident reports for third shift are 40% higher than first shift. Not because third shift is less skilled, the opposite. Third shift has the most experienced operators. The incidents are higher because the body at 4:30 a.m. is not the body at 10 a.m., and the company that staffs the safety team on first shift and leaves third shift with a clipboard and a prayer has made a calculation that Griffin is now experiencing in his own muscles and his own fog and his own 1/2 second miscalculations on machine 17. He walks to the break room. Not for a scheduled break. The 4:30 break doesn't exist on third shift. There is a 10 p.m. break, a 2 a.m. break, and a 4 a.m. break, each 15 minutes. Between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m., there is no break. The final 2 hours of third shift are continuous, 2 unbroken hours of production that the scheduling software treats as standard and that the human body treats as the hardest part of the shift, because the body has been working for 6 hours and the fatigue has compounded and the mind has entered the specific fog of late-night labor that no amount of coffee defeats. Griffin walks to the break room because he needs to sit. He sits on the cot, the vinyl-covered frame in the corner, the 1/2-inch foam, the cot that someone brought from home years ago and that nobody has removed. He sits, and the sitting becomes leaning, and the leaning becomes lying, and the lying becomes something adjacent to sleep, not true sleep, not the deep unconscious rest that the body requires, but the shallow doze of a man who has been standing on concrete for 6.5 hours in 54 degrees, and whose body has found a horizontal surface and surrendered to it with the authority of 54 years of gravity. He falls asleep, on the cot, in the break room, in the company jacket that fits him but doesn't fit half the people who wear it. He wakes up because of the warmth. Something is on top of him that wasn't there when he lay down, a weight on his chest and arms, Not heavy, not restraining, but present, warm, the specific warmth of insulated fabric. He opens his eyes. The break room is dim, the overhead fluorescent is off, replaced by the light leaking in from the hallway. Someone has turned off the light. Someone has placed something on top of him. It's a coat. A dark green puffy coat with worn elbows and a broken zipper, held together with a binder clip. Yolanda's coat. Yolanda gave him her coat, the only coat she has, the $40 Walmart coat that she wears because the company jacket doesn't fit, and the floor is 54 degrees, and the dock gaskets are broken, and the heating system hasn't been upgraded. She took the coat off her own body and placed it on a sleeping man she met 4 hours ago, because the man was cold, and the room was cold, and the instinct to cover a cold person with what you have is older than any company policy and stronger than any budget constraint. Griffin sits up. The coat slides to his lap. He holds it. The coat is still warm, body warm, Yolanda's warmth, the transferred heat of a woman who is now on the grinding floor at 4:45 a.m. without a coat in 54 degrees because she gave her warmth to a stranger. He finds her on the floor. She's at the Blanchard, the surface grinder, a machine that uses a spinning abrasive wheel to finish metal parts to precise flatness. She's wearing her uniform and her thermals and her 2 pairs of socks and her cut finger gloves and nothing else. No coat, no jacket. She is grinding parts in 54 degrees with her arms bare from the elbows down and her breath visible in the cold air and her body doing the work that the company requires, while the warmth that the company should provide is draped across a cot in a break room because she gave it away. Yolanda, she looks up from the grinder. She sees the coat in his hands. You were cold, she says. You fell asleep. I wasn't going to let you freeze in that closet. This is your only coat. I know. It's 54 degrees. I know what temperature it is. I've been working in this temperature for 9 years. I know it in my knees and my fingers and my back. I know what 54 degrees does to a body over 9 years. I'll get the coat back at 6. I've been cold before. You looked like you hadn't. Griffin holds the coat. He holds it the way you hold evidence, the proof of a thing you suspected and didn't want to confirm. The coat is $40. The company's annual revenue is $670 million. The heating upgrade is $180,000. The meditation room was $50,000. The math is the same math it always is in these stories. The math that makes sense on the spreadsheet and makes no sense on the floor. The math that funds bamboo floors in Shaker Heights and provides 54 degrees in Elyria. My name isn't Grant, he says. Yolanda's hands stop. The grinder keeps spinning. The wheel doesn't stop for conversation, but her hands are still, suspended above the machine, the parts waiting. My name is Griffin Lockwood. I'm the CEO of Triton Manufacturing. The grinder spins. The wheel doesn't care who he is. The wheel is abrasive and diamond and physics doesn't pause for revelations. Yolanda looks at him. Her face moves, not the dramatic reveal of television, not the gasp or the stagger, but the slow, measured adjustment of a woman who has worked in factories for 22 years and who has learned that the people who run things are never the people who understand them, and who is now looking at one of the people who runs things and deciding in real time whether this particular one is different. You slept in the break room, she says. I did. You slept on that cot that somebody brought from home 10 years ago, that cot that the company didn't provide and hasn't replaced and that has a half-inch foam pad that smells like coolant. I did. And I covered you with my coat. You did. She turns off the grinder. The wheel winds down. The decreasing pitch of a machine losing momentum, the sound that fills a factory when a machine stops, which is the sound of silence, plus the tinnitus of everything else that's still running. She turns off the grinder because what she's about to say is worth stopping the wheel for. I've worked in factories since I was 21. Started at a plastics plant in Akron, injection molding, the presses that make everything from car bumpers to bottle caps. Then stamping in Barberton, then grinding here. 9 years on this floor, 9 Januaries at 54 degrees. I've asked for heat. I've asked for jackets that fit. I've asked for a break room that isn't a closet. I've asked for mats that aren't flat. I've asked for bathroom stalls. I've asked for everything that the first shift workers have and that third shift workers don't, and the answer is always the same. We'll look into it. We'll look into it is corporate for no. I've been hearing no for 9 years in the language of, we'll look into it. She picks up the part from the grinder. She checks it with the micrometer, the motion automatic, muscle memory, the kind of skill that is invisible to the corporate office and indispensable to the production floor. So when you say you're going to fix it, that's not new. What's new is that you slept on the cot. What's new is that you were cold. What's new is that you felt 54 degrees for 8 hours instead of reading about it in a survey. If that changes something, good. If it doesn't, she sets the part in the finished bin. I've still got my coat. I'll keep working. It changes something, Griffin says. Prove it. I will. Good. Now give me my coat back. It's 54 degrees and I've got 2 hours left. Griffin holds the coat. He holds it the way you hold evidence, the proof of a thing you suspected and didn't want to confirm. 1 week later, the board meeting. Griffin walks in carrying the coat, the dark green puffy coat with the worn elbows and the broken zipper and the binder clip. He sets it on the conference table, the table that seats 12, in the boardroom on the 4th floor of the Shaker Heights campus, the room with the view of the courtyard and the wellness center, and the meditation room with the bamboo floors. This coat costs $40, he says. The woman who owns it earns $17 an hour. She wears it because the company jacket we provide doesn't fit her. She works in a building that is 54 degrees in January. She gave this coat to a man she'd known for 4 hours because he fell asleep on a cot in a break room, and she didn't want him to be cold. She went back to work in 54 degrees with bare arms. He looks at the board. 10 faces. The faces of people who work in Shaker Heights, in climate-controlled offices, in ergonomic chairs with catered lunches and wellness programs and a meditation room with bamboo floors. Good people. People who care about the company and believe in the mission. People who have never stood on the production floor at 4:30 a.m. and felt what 54 degrees does to a body after 6.5 hours. I worked third shift at Plant 6 this week. I ran a CNC lathe. I loaded billets. I checked tolerances. I ate in a break room that used to be a storage closet. The break room has 6 chairs for 42 people, 1 filthy microwave, no hot water, no stove, 1 cot that a worker brought from home 10 years ago because the company didn't provide one. I slept on that cot. He pauses. Not for effect, for accuracy. He wants the next sentence to be precisely true. We have a meditation room with bamboo floors that cost $50,000. We can't heat a factory to 68 degrees for $180,000. We spent more on the courtyard landscaping last spring than it would cost to fix every dock gasket, replace every buzzing ballast, and put anti-fatigue mats at every station in every plant. The math isn't complicated. The priorities are wrong. The CFO, a man named Britton, speaks first. The heating upgrade at $180,000 per plant is $1.26 million across 7 facilities. That's 1.9% of our annual profit, Griffin says, and the turnover on the production floor is 39%. You know what turnover costs? Recruiting, training, lost productivity, overtime coverage for the gap. The HR team estimates turnover costs us between $8,000 and $12,000 per lost employee. 39% of our production workforce is 1,200 people. At $10,000 per person, that's $12 million in annual turnover cost. I'm asking for $1.26 million to fix a problem that costs us $12 million. The ROI isn't complicated either. Britton is quiet. But the ROI isn't the point, Griffin says. The point is the coat. The point is that a woman who earns $17 an hour gave her only source of warmth to a stranger because that's who she is, and that's who our workers are, and we've been repaying that quality of character with 54 degrees and a closet and a jacket that doesn't fit. The ROI is a bonus. The obligation is the coat. The changes, heating upgrade, all 7 plants, every production floor heated to a minimum of 65 degrees. The total cost across all plants is $420,000. The annual landscaping budget for the Shaker Heights campus is $310,000. Griffin cancels the landscaping contract. The plants get heated. The courtyard gets whatever grows without professional help. Jackets sized to fit. Every worker measured and issued a jacket in their actual size. Small, medium, large, XL, XXL. The jackets are insulated, rated to 40 degrees, with reflective striping for dock safety. The cost is $62 per jacket, 3,100 workers, $192,000. The Wellness Center's annual budget is $240,000. Break rooms rebuilt, every plant, every shift. The break room at Plant 6, the storage closet with the filthy microwave and the 6 chairs and the cot, is gutted and expanded into the adjacent space. Tables for 20, a kitchen with a working stove and a full-size refrigerator, hot water, windows, the cot stays. Not for sleeping, as a reminder. The cot is mounted on the wall of the new break room with a plaque. This is what the break room was. This is what it should have been. Bathrooms, every plant audited. Plant 6 gets 3 additional restrooms, 2 women's, 1 men's, within 60 days. No worker waits for a bathroom. No worker manages hydration based on stall availability. The body's needs are not a scheduling problem. Anti-fatigue mats, every station, every shift, replaced on the same rotation. First and third shift get the same mats at the same time. The practice of giving third shift first shift's worn-out mats ends today. And the overnight mandate, every member of the executive team works 1/3 shift per quarter. Not a tour, not a walkthrough, a shift, 8 hours, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. They stand on the concrete, they feel the temperature, they eat in the break room, they use the bathroom, they experience the company from the floor that generates $670 million in revenue, and that has been doing it at 54 degrees with one-size jackets and a closet for a break room and 2 bathrooms for 42 people. I slept on a cot in a break room, Griffin says. A woman I'd known for 4 hours covered me with her only coat. She went back to work in the cold because she decided that a stranger's comfort was more important than her own. That's who works in our plants. That's the quality of person we employ. And we've been giving them 54 degrees in a storage closet and a jacket that doesn't fit and calling it adequate. He picks up the coat. This coat is worth more than every piece of furniture in this room. Because this coat is what generosity looks like when you have nothing. And if a woman who makes $17 an hour can give away her only source of warmth, this company, this $670 million company, can give its workers a heated building and a jacket that fits. 2 months later. Plant 6. The floor is 66 degrees, not 68. The new heating system is calibrated and adjusting, and the engineers say it will reach 68 by March, and Griffin believes them, because the engineers are working on the floor alongside the operators now, tweaking the system in real time, instead of from a schematic in Shaker Heights. The dock gaskets were replaced in the first week, not repaired, replaced. The full seal kit that costs $1,400 per bay, and that was denied for 2 years because the facility's budget categorized dock gaskets as non-critical infrastructure, a categorization that is technically accurate if you define critical as the building doesn't collapse, and wildly inaccurate if you define critical as the workers don't freeze every time a truck backs in. The ballasts were replaced. All of them, not just the buzzing ones, all of them. The entire lighting system in every production area at every plant, replaced with LED fixtures that don't buzz and don't flicker, and that produce a quality of light that the workers describe as like someone turned the building on. The cost was $140,000 across all 7 plants. The difference is visible immediately. The floor is brighter, the machines are easier to see, the quality inspections are faster because the inspectors can actually see the parts under light that doesn't pulse at a frequency that gives everyone headaches. The lighting upgrade wasn't on Griffin's original list. It was on Dina Cherney's list, the VP of Operations, who told him to go to Plant 6, who had been keeping her own list for 3 years, a list of everything that third shift needed and that the budget cycle deferred, and that she submitted every quarter, and that was returned every quarter with the note deferred to next fiscal year, and that she submitted again every quarter because Dina understood that persistence is the only tool that works when the system's default answer is later. Yolanda is wearing a new jacket, size small, navy blue, insulated, reflective striping, the Triton logo on the chest. The jacket fits. It fits her body and it fits the work. No loose sleeves near the grinder wheel, no excess fabric catching on machine guards, a jacket designed for the person wearing it and the job they're doing, which is such a basic concept that it's embarrassing that it took a CEO sleeping on a cot to implement. The new bathrooms are open. Plant 6 now has 5 restrooms, 3 women's, 2 men's. The women's facilities have 3 stalls each. No woman on third shift manages her hydration based on stall availability. No woman chooses between drinking water and making her parts count. The bathrooms cost $68,000 to build. The annual cost of the urinary tract infections that the Plant 6 women's health claims showed, the infections that develop when a person doesn't drink enough water for 9 years because drinking water means waiting for a bathroom and waiting means the count drops, was estimated by the company's health insurer at approximately $41,000 per year. The bathrooms pay for themselves in 20 months. The bathrooms should have been built 9 years ago. The break room is open. The new one, the expanded space with the tables and the kitchen and the hot water and the windows that look out at the parking lot, which is not a scenic view but is a view, and a view is better than a wall, and a wall is what the break room had for 10 years. Workers come in from the floor, sit at tables, eat meals they reheated on a stove instead of in a filthy microwave, drink coffee from a machine that makes actual coffee instead of the brown substance that the vending machine produced and that the workers called punishment. Webb Cosgrove sits at the new table and eats his stew from the thermos. The same stew, the same thermos, the same routine. Some things don't change. Some things shouldn't. But the table is bigger and the room is warmer and the window lets in the parking lot light. And Webb, after 31 years of eating in a closet, eats in a room that was designed for eating. And the difference is not dramatic. It's Webb eating stew at a table, but the difference is dignity. And dignity is the thing that the closet didn't provide, and that the new break room does, not through luxury, but through the basic acknowledgement that the person who eats here matters enough to eat in a room with hot water and windows and a table that seats 20 instead of 6. The cot is on the wall, mounted, framed, behind glass. The half-inch foam pad compressed to nothing, the vinyl cover stained with coolant and sweat, the frame bent from the weight of years. Below it, the plaque. This cot was the break room's only bed. It was brought from home by a worker. It was not provided by the company. A CEO slept on it. A worker covered him with her only coat. This is what needed to change. Next to the cot in a shadow box is a dark green puffy coat with worn elbows and a broken zipper held together with a binder clip. Griffin had it preserved. Yolanda had it replaced by the company at the company's expense, the first and only time Triton Manufacturing has purchased a personal coat for an employee. The new coat hangs in Yolanda's locker. She doesn't need it anymore. The floor is 66 degrees. The jacket fits. But she keeps it, just in case, she says, because 9 years of 54 degrees teaches you that warmth is not guaranteed and that the only coat you can trust is the one you paid for yourself. Griffin comes to Plant 6 every month, third shift. He doesn't sleep on the cot, or the cot is on the wall now. He works. He runs machine 17, the Mazak quick turn. He loads billets and checks tolerances and stands on the anti-fatigue mat that is the same mat that first shift uses, and that was replaced on the same schedule. Still runs his CNC after 31 years, still runs his CNC after 31 years, and who now runs it at 66 degrees instead of 54. With Yolanda, who sits across from him and eats her sandwich and her chips and her apple from the cooler with the binder clip that she still uses because the cooler still works and Yolanda doesn't replace things that work. It's warmer, she says. It's 66. 2 degrees short. 2 degrees short. Fix it. I'm working on it. She takes a bite of the apple. She looks at the coat on the wall. Her coat, the coat she gave to a stranger, the $40 coat that changed a $670 million company. Good, she says. Keep working. Thank you for watching this story. If it reminded you that the people on the factory floor deserve the same warmth as the people in the corner office, share it. Subscribe to Untold Hearts for more stories about the distance between the meditation room and the production floor. Tell us in the comments, what's the temperature where you work?